Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Damon K. Jones. This is the Health Mindset Monday Mindset, and we're going to be talking about protecting your spiritual energy. Let's get into it.
What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people? Slave food. The food that we find most satisfying. The food that we find that sticks to our ribs. The food that we call down home. Or food that we learn to eat in the quarters. And yet we dare say that we have escaped slavery. What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people? Slave food. What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people? Slave food. What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Damon K. Jones. It's the Monday Mindset, the Health Mindset, bringing you the Monday Mindset. And thanks for tuning in. And today, we're going to talk about protecting your spiritual energy. That is something very important. And I think that's something that we really take for granted. How do we protect our spiritual energy? I'm going to be reading from today. I did a chapter, Protecting Your Spiritual Energy, in the 53 Building Blocks to Be a Divine Black Masculine. I also tweaked the chapter for my book that's coming out in August, the Book of Black Love, because I think we take our energies for granted, even in relationships, even when we are in serious relationships with each other. We take that spiritual energy for granted, and we do not understand how we can transfer energy from each other, and especially in the relationship. But I also, in the strategies of self, I talk about self-defense, and I talk about how to defend your spiritual energy. There's ways that you defend it, but right now we're going to talk about within relationships, because I think I was having a conversation with somebody on Facebook, and they were talking about, their energy and their energy matching the person and needs to match. And that's true, and putting your energy out there in the universe, and it comes back. We are energetic beings. Electricity run through our bodies, whether we believe it or not. you know Electric runs through the fruits and vegetables. That's why, when we talk about in the health mindset, the connection of eating live foods and the energy that's in the live foods, putting in a live body, right? Why would you want to eat a dead carcass? Why would you want to put something dead in a live body? Because it's the transferring of energy. The energy that's in the ground is that goes up into the fruits and vegetables, and you put that energy in your body. So, I really think, like when we are committed to each other in a relationship, when a man and a woman is committed to each other in a relationship, it's vital for both of them to protect their spiritual energy. They must be mindful of the people that they associate with and have relationships with. The protection of your spiritual energy is essential. Changing your spiritual energy from good or bad is easy because these energies are transferred to you by people who you associate, communicate, and have relationships with. If you're not careful, it can affect your marriage or relationships or your friendships without you even knowing, and you won't even see it coming. We take complete for granted our bodies. Had to get my mind together on that. Because our bodies are like sponges. We are constantly soaking up our surroundings. It often happens to you unconsciously when you feel uncomfortable with a particular group or person and you have conflicting emotions. Just coming out of the house, we are attacked with multiple energies. Like magnets, we unconsciously attract different spirits. This is why it is crucial for couples and individuals to regularly practice prayer, meditation, affirmations, and clean eating to support your health, well-being, and mental clarity to ward off unwanted energies and spirits from other people. This is why we need to be mindful of cleansing rituals of our body. Spiritual cleanliness is no different from having good hygiene. If you don't wash your body will become filthy and ultimately you will stink. This is the same way with your spirit, brothers and sisters. If you do not keep your spirit clean, it will become filthy and toxic. Another reason you should know who you share your intimate energy with. Intimacy intertwines your spiritual energy with the energy of another person. The transference of energy is not minute as we think. When two people are intimate, it develops a deep connection. The more your frequencies intertwine, the more you observe the spiritual characteristics of another person. I'm going to say that again. The more your frequencies intertwine, the more you observe the spiritual characteristics of the other person. The act of intimacy leaves spiritual debris that can be toxic to your spiritual frequency, especially when you're dealing with people who do not practice spiritual groundedness. Clean eating, physical, emotional, or mental, or otherwise. Black men, we're socially conditioned to believe that having multiple women is being a man in today's society. As men, we hear it in barbershops, it's encouraged on social media, and in many musical songs that we listen to, we are encouraged to have multiple women and multiple relationships at one time. We even brag about how many women we could sleep with in 1 week. Being ignorant of the different transference of spiritual energies within our body. And nowadays, in 2023, you have women bragging on how many men that they slept with a week in a week. And they're just as ignorant as men of the different transference of energies that are in their bodies. If you're sleeping with multiple people, you're putting your spirit in a confused and toxic state. Absorbing numerous spirits and dampening your spirit can repel positive energy and attract negative energy in your life. Why do you think in many cases your spouses or significant other ends up finding out? Because the energy you bring home is not theirs. It's foreign to them. It's foreign to the kids and even the house. The energy you bring home is in a confused state and will set off red flags to your partner that something isn't right and that you're not right. When we operate within Black love, we are thinking beyond the physical level. We are also constantly mindful of the energetic spiritual side. As we mature, we become aware that it doesn't matter whether it's physical sex, oral sex, sexting, texting, sexual messages, being intimate with another person or people, you absorb their energy and they absorb yours. Protecting your spiritual energy and your spiritual essence is a daily agenda. More you interact with people, there is always a transference of energy. The more you interact with people intimately, the more your energies become intertwined. Just imagine people who are intimate with multiple people and are consumed with numerous confused spirits and energies. Anyone that sleeps with multiple people absorb the spiritual energy of that person that they sleep with. Therefore, cheating outside your relationship or your marriage, you are mixing energy with another person's spiritual energy who might have mixed spiritual energies with several other people. The transference of spiritual energy goes both ways, and multiple spiritual energy creates toxic and dis-ease within your body. Eventually, the longer these activities persist, we turn our bodies into spiritual breeding grounds of disease and bacteria. When you are mindful of maintaining a healthy spiritual being consistent with your meditations, prayers, clean eating, exercise, you must protect it by any means necessary. All relationships transfer energy, even with your friends. Have you ever noticed, you have a friend and they start hanging out with new friends and then their spirit is different because there's a different transference of energy? Or you hang out with a friend that you know is toxic, and then you're babysitting toxic energies, and then you're bringing that toxic energy home. If your relationship, you're bringing that toxic energy, even if you're friends, you're going to bring toxic energy into other relationships. This is why in the strategies of self, I talk about self-defense. And self-defense is just not physical self-defense, it's self-defense of your spiritual essence and your spiritual energies. There's some places that you can't go. There's some people that you was around with 10 years ago, but you can't be around with them now because you're protecting your spiritual energy. And that comes with wisdom, and that comes with prayer and meditation. And when you get to that certain level of understanding yourself and respecting yourself, you're going to protect your spiritual energy. So we have to be mindful of that. We definitely have to be mindful of it. So when you go outside, you should always pray for protection, not just physical protection, but protection from the spirits that's out here. Look at society. Society is crazy. We got to pray, right? Right? We have to pray. We have to pray every morning, not just for thanking God for waking us up in the morning, but we also have to pray for protection, for our spirit to be protected. And I think a lot of us have forgotten that. We're so busy. We don't have time to pray. That's right. And we should. And we should be mindful of that. So take time to pray. Take time to protect protect your spirit. Look, I don't even have cable no more because the news is toxic. Watching them talk about Trump 24 hours a day is toxic. So I don't have news. People say, have you seen? Man, I don't even have it. I watch YouTube and I try to fill my spirit with things that's going to boost my spirit instead of watching this news that just creates a downer, because most they talk about is the crazy political atmosphere in America and crime and violence. So I don't have time for that. And if you really take time and you just don't watch the news, after a week or two, you're going to feel a burden is lifted off your head. Who wants to hear about Trump all day? We want to be uplifted. TV is not uplifting us. TV is really sapping our spirit. Next week, I'm going to talk about spiritual vampires and how we have to look out for spiritual vampires. And we might have to do a self-check to make sure we're not a spiritual vampire. Exactly. And he's a smart young man. He's a smart young man. So we have to be we have to be real mindful. You know, because we're living in a stressful society. And that's one of the reasons mental health in the Black community is on the rise. Because our spirits are in shambles. More Black men are committing suicide than ever before because our spirits are in shambles. Our communities are in shambles and we are killing each other. It's all within our spirit. And the lack of love for self. And nobody wants to talk about it. Two young men in New York, a couple of weeks apart, mentally ill, had mental issues, killed in police custody. One was shot in New Rochelle, and the other, they're still trying to find out how he died. Right. There are a lot of spiritual vampires. And my wife wonder why I just chill in the house. You know, once you get in your 50s, you don't need to be at every brunch and every party and exchanging energies with people that you don't even know. And the fact of the matter is, we go to Sunday brunch more than we go to Sunday service. And we wonder why our communities are in a toxic state. So I want to thank everybody. You could definitely, if you could definitely go to Amazon and get the 53 building blocks to be a divine Black masculine. This is on Amazon. And I talk about protecting your spiritual energy in here for Black men. Because that's a conversation we don't have from man to man. And I also, in the strategies itself, understanding yourself to success is more for teenage kids, for young kids, but I talk about it here too. We have to start teaching our children about this. This is not anything spooky. We're not trying to be spooky. We're just trying to talk about what's really going on. Mental health should be at the top of the chart. It can be deadly. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I put on Facebook, Nas, I put on Facebook to challenge the pastors, the Black pastors, at least once a month. They need to talk about mental health from the pulpit. Because mental health is such an issue in our community. Which one? The 53 building blocks to be a divine Black masculine? It's right on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and put Damon K. Jones in, and all my books will come up. And this is the strategy itself. Actually, I'm gonna do a series on my books. I'm starting with the smallest, with the strategies itself, where it's a playlist where I talk about every chapter. And then I'm working on also a study guide for kids, because a teacher came to me and said that they're actually going through the book with his class, and I thought that was great. I mean, that's a blessing. So I'm also working on a workbook to go with the strategies of self book, and then I'm go from one book to another. Absolutely. Absolutely, Nas. Absolutely. Absolutely. But tune in next week. I'm going to be talking about energy vampires. Energy vampires. Because now we understand that we have to protect our energy. We also got to beware of the energy vampires that's out here. Some might be in our family. You might be married to an energy vampire. You might be working with one. You never know. But we're going to talk about the signs of an energy vampire, so we know what to look out for when we out here in these streets. And I'm also, I believe, in the next issue of Black Westchester. Well, let me go get the garlic. Hey, listen, Nas, I take my garlic every day. I make sure that I'm ready for them. I have it in my system to repel them demons. You know, because we have to start being about living as upright men and women. You know, at what age do you begin to start thinking, I need to find God before God finds me? What age does it take? See, because we got a bunch of Negroes out here still trying to be in their 30s and 40s. And the sad thing about it is you got a lot of older women acting like that too. So we got to be, you know. Oh yeah, I got my sage. I absolutely, I got my sage. I got my sage. I got my crystals. I got my crystals too. I'm not playing. I'm not playing. Well, absolutely. You know, but you know, we have to. And one thing, when we did the conversation with Black men, one thing Brother Yusuf saying, we gotta talk about God more, man. We have to talk about God. We have to talk about God more. We have to be, and I think Tyrese was on a video, and he was saying that, the enemy has no problem, talking about the toxic social norms and promoting toxic social norms. We have to not be afraid to be open publicly about spirituality and the connection to our God and the universe. We can't be afraid to discuss that openly. They even want to silence you for talking about that. You're not going to silence me for talking about my spirituality and my connection to the God in the universe and how God made me a man, an upright man, for an upright spiritual woman. You're not going to silence me on that. You have the right to say what you want to say. I have the right to say what I want to say, as long as I'm not threatening anybody. But they even want to take that away and say, if you talk about being upright, if you talk about the duality of the masculine and feminine, the black masculine and feminine, that you're talking hate speech. How am I talking that? When that's in the scriptures. Well, yeah, they're going to call on him, but the question is he going to listen? That's the question. So thanks, everybody. And definitely tune in next week, the Health Mindset, Monday Mindset. And we're going to be talking about spiritual vampires and what to look out for spiritual vampires, how to protect yourself from spiritual vampires. And if you go to YouTube, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I got a lot of other videos I'm putting up. If you missed it on YouTube, is Dr. Cedric. We had a great discussion this past Saturday with Dr. Cedric, the self-care advocate, where he talked about his book, The 7 Steps to Prevent Chronic Disease. Definitely check that video out. It's on the live portion. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, and please go over to YouTube and go to my page and give it a thumbs up and subscribe and send it to other people to subscribe, because I'm going to be here every Monday night talking about the Monday mindset, that we could set the week off on the right mindset. And next week, don't forget, we're going to be talking about spiritual vampires. Spiritual vampires. Thank you. May y'all have a black-tastic Monday and today's meatless Monday also. So I thank you. And remember, God is in your vegetables. Peace out.
What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people? Slave food. The food that we find most satisfying. The food that we find that sticks to our ribs. The food that we call down home. A food that we learn to eat in the quarters. And yet we dare say that we have escaped slavery. What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people? Slave food. What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people? Slave food. What kind of food do you eat? You say soul food? Was that the food of African people?